Okay, so welcome once again. It is Tuesday, August 19th. We are going through optimizing business operations for health, life, and Medicare agents. Last week's webinar, which is live on or not live, but recorded on the agent portal, we went through organizing your business. As time continues to move on, as we all know that we're TPMOs now, we understand how to conduct and market ourselves. Is there content? Is there intent? Um, we need to understand, obviously, moving forward, how to fully optimize our business operations to be able to take full advantage. So last week, if you missed out, we talked about technology, implementing technology, ensuring that you have multiple screens, an ergonomic sitting situation, either in your car or in your office, and really understanding where we're moving into 2026 and what this all entails to help you have the most efficient means of conducting your business. Understanding Medicare compliance. So, a couple things have occurred over the last few years where initially the sales call needed to be recorded. Well, they've taken it a few steps further than that. Now, all of your communication with your consumer needs to be recorded. So it doesn't matter if you're at a soup kitchen and you meet Doris, you need to document the date and time and what you converse with Doris about. When you phone Doris back and you speak to her daughter and you gather information or whatever it may be, all of these lines of communication have to be recorded now. So as we've gone through our AHIP, as we're getting certified, once again, we understand the content of our marketing and the intent, of our marketing. It becomes very, very important that all of your communication now be stored somewhere. And that's something that we'll discuss as these webinars continue for our September 11th, I believe it is, launch, where we have obtained a partnership, if you will, with Agents Elite Tech, who is going to be providing the technology to our field agents as well as our internal agents for call recording and CRM platforms. So navigating the regulations is incredibly important. Last week, we discussed your PURLs and ensuring that you have the efficiency set up that even if it's a non-commissionable plan, that you don't get all emotional about holding that fiduciary standard. And you're not emotional about it because it hasn't taken up any of your time. And that's the most important part to this 59-day period is how much time do you have as an agent to help as many consumers as humanly possible, right? So that efficiency in understanding your PURL, that efficiency in understanding how to conduct that business, having draft emails set up, having the PURLs updated. Many of the carriers will update those PURLs, but if that's how you're conversing or conducting business, whether or not it's via text to the consumer or whether or not it's via email, understanding the rules and regulations to efficiently close your book of business, whether or not it's a telephonic contract that you have or a field agent contract, is going to be the biggest determining factor. A call center contract is able to telephonically collect the scope and telephonically collect the application or the signature, if you will, via voice, where a field agent, we're either collecting a paper application, which hopefully no one's doing any longer, or we're collecting a PURL or entering that data through the carrier website, through a partner like Connexure or Sunfire, and then at that point in time, the signature is captured and we're not faxing any longer. We're not paper applications, mailing out applications, et cetera. So that the regulation is incredibly important, but documenting your conversations not only is important for you, but it's also important for your relationship with your clients. Understanding those key compliance elements, right? There are specific things that need to transpire nowadays as a CMS approved enrollment, right? And these carriers are trying to provide this information to you, but many of the agents aren't necessarily reading or have the capability or the bandwidth, if you will, to take on a project like having your calls be recorded and then transferred via FTP into your own server. So as I meet with many agents and talk to even more, I'm understanding part of the issue going on here where they're picking up a telephony service and it's only recording calls for 6 months and they don't know what to do with the calls thereafter, or the actual recording size begins to be too large and the cost begins to be too large in storing those cold calls. So a lot of this comes back to the necessity of recording now all calls, right? It's not just sales calls, it's every call the carrier wishes or CMS wishes now to have recorded, as well as any other face-to-face transaction that you may have with that consumer. Engaging in regulatory bodies, right? Develop relationships and understand, and that's where we come into play, is having that relationship with CMS, having CMS approved phone scripts, having CMS approved um, marketing pieces if necessary. And once again, understanding, is there content and is there intent? So as you're posting on social media, as you're possibly running Google ads or any social media ads, understanding if there's content or intent begins to be very, very important as multi-plan codes are now necessary or needed on some marketing pieces. The training and compliance, obviously, will continue to assist with that. Over the next few weeks, we'll continue to dive into the 2026 changes and what CMS deems a compliance or a compliance sale with and for you. So a lot of this just comes back to understanding exactly where you're at with the compliance side of not only how you're marketing, but how you're closing that consumer. Creating efficient client management systems. So once again, we have partnered with Agents Elite Tech, or we're purchasing that software platform. With Agents Elite Tech, that is a CRM-based platform. We'll have videos out here shortly in regards to screenshots, things of that nature, so you can get a better feel for it. It's like, for the most part, any other CRM. Where last week we discussed getting your book of business together, right? Getting yourself organized, understanding the importance of some products over other products, right? Having a larger weight on a med sup product as opposed to the prescription drug plan. So as we go through and understand what a CRM is, because many agents out there still are using either an Excel spreadsheet or still, not engaging in what a true CRM can house for you, that is certainly something that will enhance not only your time, but your consumer satisfaction. The data management we have taken care of on our end. So drip emails, drip text messages, all of that has taken place to continue having a good relationship with your consumers and obtaining referrals from those consumers as well. Once again, as we discussed last week, segmenting your book of business becomes incredibly important. If you end up offering or helping someone with a med sup plan and a prescription drug plan and a life insurance policy, which one is paying you more? And what are the renewals on those policies, right? So, something very important to keep in mind, to have those triggers set up to treat your consumers almost like a lease retention, where you're able to contact that consumer prior to you losing out on your renewals, them going away because of the state in which you wrote that consumer, or that consumer just simply leaving you because you're not in touch with them or touching them enough. Marketing. Agents are coming forth more and more with marketing, because that is becoming a larger issue as your upline, your agency, is unable to provide the same level of marketing, if you will, that we used to in the past. As agents now are TPMOs, that marketing responsibility falls on your shoulders now. So understanding your marketing, not just how you're going to market or who you're marketing to, but what are you doing with that marketing campaign afterwards? And that's certainly something that's incredibly important, that within your CRM platform, you're able to have that marketing set up. Sorry, we're getting a lot of questions coming across regarding marketing. You have your marketing set up properly to continue to touch that consumer in the length of time that you're capable and legally able to touch that consumer, right? You only have a consent to contact that lasts so long. So we can't continue to keep bombarding these seniors, even though they're bombarded. We have to have a smarter way of marketing to those consumers. Furthermore, we're discussing your rate of return, right? So if a sale costs $630 because a lead is $100 a piece and you're closing 1 out of 6, obviously, right? That rate of return becomes uberly important, that we're still touching the 9 other leads for the length of time that we're able to until they buy or die, right? But as an agent, this has to be automated. It has to have the automation behind it, because otherwise you don't have enough time to continue working all of these leads, and your rate of return your not your rate of return, your ROI skyrockets. So utilizing your social media platforms, understanding as a TPMO, and many of the carriers will provide you carrier specific marketing. If you have questions, if it contains content or intent, please reach out to us and we'll walk you through to see if it does actually need approved through CMS. If it does, we'll get it approved through CMS. Typically, it takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks time to get something approved through CMS. Our marketing materials through SES should be approved right around September 1st. So that way we can either send out our mailers or do our social media posts or whatever we need to do to begin marketing by that October 1st time period. The other thing to consider building in is that call to action. When you're doing a social media post, right? I do a post on Facebook. What's the call to action? Is it to have the consumer phone me, or is it to have the consumer provide me some data, right? And that's really what I'm after, is the data from the consumer. So how are you capturing this data? And so if you can create a call to action where your social media post ends up creating a retire flow or cognitively forms or whatever to capture that data, right? You have a form created on the back end to capture the consumer data. Now we have something to work off of. Now I'm not wasting my time for 15 minutes or a half hour calendar event, that I'm able to nip that calendar event, never speak to the consumer, gather their data, send them out a draft email, right? What we spoke of last week, have a draft email with my PURL saying, this is the plan that you need and here's why. Here's my PURL. Now, if they need to book something, now it's a different story, right? But at least I've gathered the data without having to spend the time conversing with that consumer. Emailing. We're going to be discussing emailing and campaigns over the next few weeks. How the CRM with Agents Elite Tech has a drip email, the dispositions that create the drip emails, the time period of those drip emails, and everything email related. Now, as an agent, as a TPMO, it is crucial that you understand how to do mass emails, how to not do mass emails, and how to do mass texting and how to not do mass texting. because it will end up getting you in trouble if by accident you send out 2,000 text messages at 2 o'clock in the morning. You have the capability on their platform to be able to do so. So it's very important that you recognize, and before you do any mass emailing or before you do any mass texting, that you contact us, we create a strategy for you. So that way you're not ending up in a bulk or a spam situation, and that you're emailing these individuals to get the highest rate of return, right? There's nothing wrong with doing email blasts. We do it all the time. We send out a couple 100,000 emails a month. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is a way of building yourself up, if you will, within the realm of the email world, and we'll go through that over the next few weeks as well. Setting up your business efficiently, right? So once again, there's many pieces at work here to make sure that you're not only efficient in how you're conducting business, but you're compliant in how you're conducting business. And in this world, the compliance side has certainly gotten more and more strict. That scope of appointment being required, right? With a scope of appointment being required. Many of us haven't lived those days when you're offering a prescription drug or an advantage plan. Secondly, how you're collecting that signature. And that becomes a huge part to this. You're either using your rate number through a send, you're using, once again, a platform with Connecture, but that efficiency as you're going through and understanding that client management becomes the most crucial part to all of this, because that's what's going to allow for you to be efficient and have the data that you need as you're going into the annual enrollment period. Understanding your client relationship management. You're able to begin logging in. Those of you that were on previous platforms through SES or through CHIP, your phone numbers are being ported as we speak, and they're going through the A2P process. So what is A2P? Please Google that, but the long and the short is it allows for you to text message from your cell phone. We are registering your phone to allow outgoing text messages. It allows for you not to go into someone's bulk or spam. And once again, you can do blasts through the CRM. Be very careful that you're not just blasting thousands and thousands of people initially. We'll go through that over the next few weeks' time. The client relationship management system allows me personally to know my clients. I don't know you, but in conversation, when you mention your granddaughter's name, I'm going to take note of it. How old she may be, I'm going to take note of it. Why? Because I can always go back in the off season and offer a Gerber Life product, right? Or a transitional life product through Transamerica or whatever it may be, to continue offering coverage year round. 59 days out of the year, I have a full Medicare hat on. After that, you still need to remain busy, right? So there's other products that I can offer. The other biggest thing that I hear a lot is when a spouse passes. So I hear an agent on the phone, and they're on the phone with Joyce, and they're talking to Joyce, and they're like, so Joyce, you're all cleared up. Cigna's the right plan for you. So let's talk about Robert. And Joyce starts crying. You don't remember? He passed away in March. Oh my goodness. Well, what a heel you are at that point in time in your life for not knowing and taking note, even under Joyce's record, that Robert is deceased. Don't bring him up again. There's no need to. So as you're going through these conversations with your consumer, there's so many touch points of having a relationship with them and having them trust in you, that you know their needs because you know who they are. An effective CRM tool should allow for you to step away from your business and know that your CRM is following up for you. We'll go through the specifics as we roll out by September 11th the Agents Elite Tech CRM. It's pretty much dummy proof. There is a support tab on there where you can ask any question if you feel you're missing anything, if you feel that you need to hear a recording or whatever the case may be, but it's working behind you, right? It's that assistant that's assisting you in having an effective and efficient way of conducting business. There is training staff for the CRM, right? So we'll continue to go through every Tuesday. We'll get closer and closer and closer to exactly what you need to be doing as an agent. If you don't know what you need to be doing, please review last week. But getting yourself organized so that way you can get in, log in, begin preparing, begin playing around, begin understanding how the app looks and feels. Integrating your technology into your sales process. There's a lot of agents out there that are still doing paper applications. They're still going home and they're still uploading their information into Aetna's portal. And then they're still faxing that application over and they're still storing that application for a decade's time. I beg of you, move out of that way of conducting business. And even if you're currently with another agency watching this, and that agency is 72 years old and been doing this for 45 years, they're not going to embrace the technology to help you become more efficient. And that's the most important thing is, right? We all have a business model. We all understand how much we wish to put into our business model and what our business model is. So if your agency or upline isn't helping you with that technology, please speak to us so we can get some technology implemented. Because I have traveled, I work with, and I've seen many agencies out there that have no idea what technology is, and it's unfortunate. So utilizing your data analytics, right? Running your own reports, understanding your clients' needs, and improving your sales strategies as we go through year after year is incredibly important. Increasing that revenue, not decreasing it. Digital marketing strategies, once again, we went through briefly, implementing some, right? If you need help in understanding how to place a Facebook post or an ad or how to create that call to action to create a lead from that ad, please reach out. Once again, carriers, I know HAP is amazing at doing this. Devoted's really good at doing it. There are carrier specifics out there that you can have that carrier specific ad because it's been approved. You can duplicate that, right? There's already a multi-plan code. If you're looking at creating your own, please review if there's content or intent, if it needs to go through CMS. But now would be the time to create those digital marketing pieces if you are looking at creating any digital ads. You have 6 weeks, once again, realistically, to get that taken care of. Building long-term client relationships. When I write someone who's 65, I am assuming you're with me until the day we part, which is the day that you pass away. I'm not going anywhere, right? Been in the same seat for 20 years. These consumers are with me. So how do I build that long-term relationship, especially for the agents watching that telesales may be new to you? You've realized that with commission cuts on certain plans in certain counties, especially if you're in California, my heart goes out to you. Some of these states where these agents are beginning to really feel the pinch of the commission cuts, but still decide to travel to see a consumer, it may be time to move on and work those consumers whom you've already met telephonically. You can talk them out of seeing you face to face. You can just let them know that, hey, look, we're going to try something new this year. I'm in a web conference with you, so you can still see me, but I have to conduct this in an efficient manner. And that efficient manner should just continue to go from not seeing a consumer to realistically not conversing with them much at all, and then having that sale just, they'll appreciate it. Trust me, you are not losing that touch with the consumer. They want someone who's efficient and professional in how they're conducting their business, and they are willing to text and email now. Regular communication with your clients. Are you currently sending out a birthday card? Are you currently sending out a Christmas card? Are you currently sending out a handwritten thank you card or a magnet that goes on their fridge? We've been discussing marketing like this for years, and it's really important that that continues to happen. However, does the human need to be involved? And that becomes the question, right? As AI continues to be brought up, and we'll go through AI again, and how it really began in what, 1982? I mean, it's been around longer than most of you watching this. So how do you stay in front of your consumer? Well, how about a system that just kicks out an email with a happy birthday to them, or a happy birthday text, or a Christmas, let's rephrase that, a holiday email? No Christmas, just holiday, right? So you're staying in front of that consumer throughout the year without having to think of or go through your Excel spreadsheet to find someone's date of birth, to then kick them out an email or have draft emails. Let the system work for you. Let the system also provide your consumers feedback on you, right? Many of you have Google reviews because you have a Google account, which is awesome, right? So your reviews are growing. I know some of you on this with hyper local marketing that you're doing allows for you to have amazing Google reviews locally that are really bringing in additional business. So let the consumer provide you that constructive criticism. It is very important to continue to allow for you to have growth. Your efficiency. I know many agents out there do not really house in on their book of business, their commissions, understanding that book of business. I know at times we just become so insanely busy that keeping track of that book of business, keeping track of our consumers, keeping track of renewals. Let's pause on that for a moment. Here in the state of Michigan, where our corporate office is, Michigan pays hot and heavy for med sups for 3 years, right? Most states pay consistent for 8 years. Most consumers keep their MedSup policy nationally for 38 months. That's the number. So you should be having some kind of reminder to you that if you're writing someone in the state of Michigan, that in, call it what, 32 months, you should have a pop-up alerting you to rewrite that consumer if humanly possible, and to rewrite that consumer every 3 years to keep that bell curve of your commissions as high as it can be. Your consumer is going to reshop their coverage. They are. It's inevitable. Whether or not you're going to be the agent is a whole different story. So catching these consumers ahead of time becomes incredibly important to continue to work that consumer, keep the consumer, work their referrals, right? That it just continues to grow. Your retention strategies. Are you sending out postcards to your consumers? Are you sending out emails to your consumers? Are you sending out text messages to your consumers? And do you have consent to do so? Is your phone A2P certified, right? Have you gone through the steps with the FCC nationally to do so? So there are some steps here in retention that become really important. Once you have this consumer, and we all understand as the annual enrollment period is kicking off soon, you have 12 months of consent to contact. So most of your scope of appointments are going to not be relevant come this annual enrollment period? Do you have a system that can just blast out a form, web page form, a cognitively form, a retire flow form? Do you have a system that can kick out a form to your consumers to collect that scope of appointment, right? DocuSeal, DocuSign, I don't care what it is, to gather that data ahead of the annual enrollment period, right? Because you can begin running meds as of October 1st, but you need that consent, you need that scope of appointment, and you need the ability to have their email, current text. If it's been a few years since you've gone through your book or you've spoken to these consumers, you have some catching up to do, frankly. That retention becomes incredibly important. Continue your sales trainings, right? If there's any face-to-face trainings that are necessary with a carrier, please reach out to us and we'll create a webinar or get you in for a webinar training. I know some of these carriers still are forcing the face-to-face. Your certifications, you should be caught up on. Once again, last week we went through an Excel spreadsheet. I shared mine with you on how I keep organized with my carrier certifications, how I keep organized with my PURLs, how I understand what carriers allow agent of record change forms, right? So that retention with these consumers becomes incredibly important, and to continue having that engagement with them as the year continues to unfold. So I know a lot of this is new information for some of you. For others, it's a little bit of redundancy, which is good, right? Let's always go back to basics though. How are you staying engaged with your consumers? If there's a birthday rule in a state in which you're working or in your state, if right, you're still belly to belly and you're only in one state, that's fine. Many of you are opening the doors now because your state's not working, frankly, anymore because networks are changing, right? Certain areas where there's no Humana or WellCare or Aetna, and those are your primary carriers, but you're right next to a hospital network that doesn't accept it. I understand that. It's time to pivot. For many of you, the cheese has been moved. For many of you, that way of conducting business or the way that you've been trained on conducting business obviously needs to change. We'll have more webinars over the next, 4 weeks, I think it is, up till September 11th, three or four more webinars on getting your feet wet on how a CRM actually works, and then the guts to the CRM on what it's doing on the back end to assist you as an agent. So as the weeks unfold, once again, please continue to review our webinars. Please continue to hop on our webinars. They'll all be on YouTube, right, on the SES Agent YouTube channel. Get your certifications completed and make sure that you're on top of your book of business. So if you are looking at integrating into a CRM, which you should be, they've been around for decades now, it's time to embrace that technology and time to not have AI scare you per se, right? It's scary for everyone, and I grasp that. We'll continue to talk about AI and how it can assist you in creating an efficient lines of business. So I appreciate your time and hopping on. I know that this was scheduled for an hour. We're a few minutes shy of that hour, but we will continue